right, good morning, everyone. We're honored to welcome Venerable Amy here to the center.
Yeah.
So Venerable Amy has been in the Tibetan,
I just want, can everyone online hear? Okay.
has been part of the, studying Tibetan Buddhism for many years, teaching as far back as 92, I think, right? And
Yes, now I feel really old. Thank you.
Yeah, and not to make you feel older, that was the year I was born. And
Nice one.
Uh-oh.
she's
Called the racing merit, Anthony.
she has plenty of leadership experience in the FPMT mandala, serving as director of many different centers, and she had ordained in 2000 under Venerable Chodun Rinpoche, Tibetan master. And she's come to Thubten Kunga for the past 20 years, almost 20 years on an annual basis. And her teaching style is one that emphasizes meditation, mindfulness, compassion, and working with issues such as anxiety, depression, self-esteem, addiction, death, and dying. To properly convey the level of her experience and how much the community adores her, I would need a longer introduction, but she asked me to keep this brief. So while she's here with us in the next 2 weeks, she has generously offered a plethora of different teachings on topics such as guru yoga, wisdom of emptiness, and some weekend events as well, like day-long retreats. So really take advantage of this opportunity, and won't take any more of a precious time we have with her. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I really want to thank Anthony. I want to thank all the people involved with Thubten Kunga Center, Rebecca, Peggy, all of the people, volunteers. I'm looking around to see different people. Thank you so much for all the help and for making this center possible over all these years. It goes back much longer before I came. So I'm really happy to be back, and I'm happy to see some new faces. I'm happy to connect with some people I've met before. Thank you for coming. And I think that I was just looking, I think I was here, I want to say April 2024. That may have been last year, because we were trying to figure out when was it, and we couldn't figure out the date. So I think it was April 2024. Great. So one thing I want to mention in this 2.5-week program I'm here for, some of the topics are repeated, and that's what teachers do because you all have a realization of karma right now, right? Everybody's clear on that? Right. So some people say, I've had this teaching before. I have heard Lamrim teachings before, right? Do you have a realization of that? Okay. So when you get to some states in the US and people have had a lot of Dharma and they're very experienced, and not Florida, but no, I'm not saying it's not Florida, but they're very jaded. So when you say, oh, what's he teaching on? And then somebody says Lamrim and they go, oh, I've already had that. So they don't have really any deep understanding, but so we really every day we want to come to our practice like a newcomer. Okay. It's a fresh way for me. Every day is begin again, but you are going to layer some of your experience. Some of you have been around for a while. So Americans are sometimes challenging to teach, and I know we're not all Americans here or all from the States. They're challenging to teach because you want your enlightenment 2 weeks ago, wrapped up in a little silver box, easy. Okay. We don't want to make the effort at it. Okay. And then you don't see change as quickly enough. So people give it up. I've been meditating for 2 weeks. I still get angry. So please have patience with your practice. That's really essential to have patience, understand. So if some of you that have been around for a bit and you look back a year, you look back 5 years, notice any changes in your mind? Yes, that's what it's like. So again, all those little insights, and you have many insights, those are little realizations. And if you have enough of them lined up, you started here, now you're over here. That's where you want to be. That's your path to enlightenment. So you have to have that patience. And so the other thing now is I'm noticing in the world right now, and I have the good fortune to be able to teach at lots of centers around the world. So people are challenged with anxiety, depression, addiction, and feel despair. and they're not sure what to do, and there's a little bit of paralysis. So if you start to develop a rich, consistent practice, but I'm talking about a realistic way for you to practice, but you're hitting the main points in the right way. That's what we're going to do in the next 2.5 weeks. What are the main points I need to focus on? That's what will support you through all this. I'm finding right now, and this may sound a bit bizarre, I'm finding more joy in my practice. So I've been at this a while, but I'm not any great practitioner. So don't layer that I'm some holy being because I've got a bald head and maroon robes and okay, I'm not that different from you, right? So it's just a matter of I found some ways to light up that these beings, the reason we have them in front of us, and for some of you it's foreign. You go, I don't know, I don't know what this guy has 3 heads and all these arms, right? It's strange for us, okay? But they're basically your spiritual companions. And the only way we get more familiar with them is by doing some practices with them. And in the beginning, the practices are unfamiliar. So you don't like it, you feel it, so it doesn't mean anything. And some students have said to me, well, I feel like I'm kind of slogging through it. Like it's a chore, it's a burden. It's a very common part of practice. I have that in my own practice. I didn't get to my practice, let's say, early enough in one day, I had a big family outing, and now it's 11 o'clock at night, and some things I wanted to do, I have some daily commitments, and you're like, okay, let's just get this done, right? But again, slowly, I've had enough of the practice where there's joy. You want to have joy in the practice, very important part of the practice, something that lights you up from inside. And so slowly you start to engage small practices, what will fit into your life. Start there, and then you start expanding it, but what will fit into your life realistically. Okay, so don't compare yourself to somebody else. This is you and your mind. It's you and your mind. And then slowly, these beings, through some practices or mantras, we just did a beautiful retreat in New York to this deity. This is Tara. Many of you are familiar. Green Tara. There's 21 versions of her. This is the one we're most familiar with. There's also a white Tara. If you have life obstacles, she's the one you want to talk to. This one, when you're looking for a parking space in Manhattan, she's the one you want to talk to. Okay, when you want your baseball team to win, which they did not last night, okay? No, I don't ask for mundane things like that, okay? But what happens is we did this retreat, and meaning we're visualizing her in the space in front, okay, saying some mantras that are sacred sayings related to her. Every deity has a different mantra. Right. And then through that practice and through the understanding, reciting some prayers that layer a nice cushion for your mind, right? Through that practice, you create a closer connection with her. So then you're having trouble, you talk to her. She clears obstacles. That's her job. She clears obstacles. You're having issues with work. You need to find another job. You talk to her. You have a big move cross country. Discuss with her. So you want to ask for something loftier. You want some energy in your practice, and you want to clear obstacles for you really getting to a practice and establishing practice and understanding more. Okay, so each of these beings in the room, okay, relates to, oh, I have got him right behind me. Great, perfect. All it is an aspect of the omniscient mind, the Buddha's mind. That's all they are, different aspects. So this one so he's got a sword in his right hand. This is Manjushri. Manjushri, Buddha of infinite wisdom. So some people, I have a class on emptiness. You want to understand this profound part of our philosophy, emptiness. Okay, it cuts the root of all your delusions, all your mental imbalances. So it's a very important part of our studies and things like that. So he helps you with wisdom. So there's a short meditation you can do with him, and you recite his mantra. I do a little bit every day, visualizing light coming through with him. Okay, and he brings wisdom like that. You feel like you need more compassion, then you a little bit do a practice with the Buddha of compassion. So you want to make them really relational so that when a problem comes, you have no practice, and then you go, what do I do? It's all contained in yourself. And all they are aspects. And the Buddha manifests, and the teachers manifest. This was my main teacher, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and he simply manifested Okay, and it might be a form you're not familiar with. Buddhist monk, he was from Nepal, Sherpa by birth in the Mount Everest region of Nepal. So you might not be so familiar with that. Okay, but he simply manifested externally in a form I could relate to and see, right? To guide me to freedom. And all they're doing, all these manifestations, all these representations, they're all symbolic, but basically they're simply an external representation of the highest level of your own wisdom, compassion, loving kindness, all your qualities fully manifest like that. So they're reminders. Okay. Now we have other reminders in other traditions. So most of us were raised in Judeo-Christian traditions. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. And certainly the Christian tradition has some beautiful images. Jesus, Mary, different saints. Okay. So it's not that different from that, like that. But these are just ones we're not as familiar, and they look kind of Asian because originally it came from Asia. The Buddha was born in Western Nepal on the border to India, and then Buddhism spread out from there. So we might not be, as some of you are Asian background, but we're not maybe as familiar because originally the person that had the realization of this deity in a retreat, suddenly the deity may have manifested to him. And then as a painter, he would paint in what he looked like, basically. So now you see Western painters of Buddhist things, and they're making them looking more Western. That's okay. That's okay. Right. So especially the Monday night class, the Guru Yoga, is for a little bit, if you have a little bit of a background, it's better for going a little deeper. But that 3-session set is going to teach us how we do a practice called Guru Yoga, meaning yoga, yoke. I'm bonding myself, connecting myself to an aspect of the Buddha, and it will be in the form of Lama Tsongkhapa. Lama Tsongkhapa, he's our patron saint. So he lived from 1347 to 1419. He lived at Ganden Monastery, which he founded, which is outside of Lhasa in Tibet, was destroyed by the communist Chinese and is now mostly rebuilt, but it was reestablished in the exodus, in the exile, in South India. And you can visit Ganden Monastery in South India. You can also visit Ganden Monastery in Tibet as well, but it's not a very free place there. He was a genius, Lama Tsongkhapa, and we'll talk more about that on Monday night. So it's a very precious practice. It's a kind of middle level Guru Yoga, and so guru is a scary word because we have these ideas in the States of cults, things like that, and we're suspicious of somebody taking control of our lives. Okay, but the real guru, absolute guru, is that inner voice of your own that's fully developed with a full Buddha consciousness. And all they're trying to do through these practices is get you in touch with that. Okay. When you operate from there, your own inner wisdom, your own inner compassion, like that, then you know the perfect thing to do and say, and you're completely balanced and happy all the time. So all they're trying to do through these practices is to yoke us, to combine us with a teacher. Guru means spiritual teacher, spiritual friend, with a deity. In this case, it would be Manjushri, because that was Lama Tsongkhapa's main practice. And the Buddha, all are one. They're all combined, that triple level being. And then I dissolve them into myself, just visualize. So I have all that. I'm slowly gaining that power, that energy, like that. So that's really the essence of that. And then if you have highest yoga tantra initiations, then you can study a little bit on a different level of that, even more profound level that helps kind of speed you to freedom. Okay. So today we're going to talk about karma. And what I wanted to do, and does this make sense to everybody? I just wanted to give an overview of, because I'm kind of at this point, just really wanting you to get free and freer, and I'm not sugarcoating stuff anymore. This is, so if you want something easy, like I mentioned, the enlightenment and the little silver box, this is not the path for you. I'll be really honest. Find something else. Don't waste your time. Find something else. This is not an easy path. It is incredibly rewarding. It really works. And what does it work on? It fixes your mind. So if you have any issues with your mind, does anyone here have any issues with your mind? No, right? I do, right? Meaning you get angry at somebody. There's different levels of anger. You're super attached to somebody or something, a lot of desire, right? You're fearful, you're anxious, you have anxiety, panic attacks, you're depressed. It's all kinds of levels of depression, right? Maybe you've got a lot of pride. That's not really necessarily a happy space. Maybe you're really lazy and forgetful. Okay, so we have all these imbalances in our mind, all these imbalances, and sometimes they get us into trouble. So for me, from thoroughly checking out this path, checking out other paths, but you have to find your path to the top of the mountain. It may not be a Buddhist path, no problem, right? You don't need to be a nun to do this or a monk. I practiced for many years as a lay practitioner, right? But for me, it really works. But again, you have to be patient with your mind, with your practice. The nature of being a human is you make mistakes. That's human nature. Buddha nature is perfect. So this path leads you there, leads you to perfection. But when you're not perfect yet, you're going to make mistakes. So part of my practice, you fall flat on your face. Okay. It's very uncomfortable. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and then please check, why did I make that mistake? What was going on? We'll talk more about that, So and I'll give you some examples, realistic examples in your life, okay? Did you ever notice when you're around a certain person in your life, it might be a family member at a gathering, could be somebody at work, could be a neighbor, and somehow when this person's around, you do more negative stuff and say negative stuff and have negative thoughts. You're a little apprehensive around them, so you get nervous. Brings out more of your insecurities, right? They get you into trouble with negative behavior. They're encouraging you, do this with me. You don't trust them. They manipulate, right? Anybody have anybody like this in their life, right? Right. And when they're around, right, you don't feel as safe. So then you start doing stuff that's not so great. But then there's other people, did you ever notice? When you're around them, they bring out all the best in you. Right? So what you do is you slowly start to reposition your life. Okay. This is your wisdom. And you don't do it rashly. Do it slowly. You don't cut family members out of your life or close friends, but you can limit time with them if they're not really doing healthy things. You can set some clear boundaries, right? And if you're close enough with them over time at an appropriate time, you could have a little conversation with them about that you're just not comfortable when they do this, or these kind of things, or you're just not finding that much enjoyment when we go out and drink heavily at this place anymore. I'm not really enjoying that. Just being honest, but it's not a major thing. It's not something's wrong with them. And slowly you start adjusting, and then the people that are bringing out your best qualities, right? Maybe you find a way to spend more time in that situation. Make sense? Right? So our practice is making little adjustments. Okay, but you have to make them realistic for you so you'll do them, so that you'll do them. Okay, so when we started teaching, what I like to do is a little bit more traditional way. We recite some prayers. And what this does is it layers a nice cushion for our practice, creates nice merit for us. So I'm going to share my screen. This is from our main prayer book, volume 1. Thank you. Excuse me. We're just going to do this in an abbreviated way. But what you're going to do is, if you'd like, prayers at the beginning of teachings, you visualize we have Manjushri here, and we have a beautiful Buddha statue here, right? So you visualize they're in the front, they're in front of you, right? And you just imagine them, and you can even place them, slightly higher than the level of your head, like as if it's a really radiant golden being, as if he's really there. And we're basically saying, I'm going to make praises to the Buddha so they kind of bless our session right now and makes it easier for us to listen, to pay attention, to kind of be present and to take in the information. And that's why teachers repeat. So you have the same teachings again and again, because each time we listen differently and it goes to a different level like that. So we often need to hear again. So feel free if you'd like to join in. We're going to recite this particular paragraph one time through. Normally you do it 3 times, so we'll do it 1 time through. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Shugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. So what we might want to do in the future, if it's too far for the people here, if there's books, if you have any books, then you can follow along like that. But you can just close your eyes and think about what we're saying. That's no problem. When, O supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, then, I prostrate. With bodies, with pure bodies, formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the one gone to thusness I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all 3 ever devout homage. To all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms atoms in all aspects, with supreme faith, I pay homage. So let's focus on these next 4 lines. This is kind of the essence of Buddhism. Let's read slowly. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions, but do your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. And these all relates to emptiness, these next lines, and just thinking about this kind of transcendent nature of all these different images. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. So just that verse in all of our education materials from FPMT, which is our umbrella organization, and you can go to fpmt.org. There's an education tab. And under that tab, there's a whole variety of courses. Some of you are familiar with these courses through Thubten Kunga Center. So there are intro courses, and like a meditation 101. There are a wonderful kind of beginner's course, Discovering Buddhism, that the center offers. You can go through those courses at the center or online or in your own home study. And there's also from something called Living in the Path modules. So there was a retreat held, I think, for 4 different years in North Carolina with Lama Zopa Rinpoche called Light of the Path. And it was basically this precursor of this overview of the Lam Rim, our main philosophy, stages on the path, Lam Rim. And Rinpoche really never got to the text after four different years. But all these other teachings came out, and then some of us worked on them to make these modules. There was one module just on this verse, this 4-line verse we just read, all that, and beautiful module. So you can look at some of these modules. They're shorter. You watch a little video, Rinpoche teaching. You read the transcript. There's some questions, things like that to consider. It's really nice to have another little small component you can go through. Okay. Through these merits, may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. So often we go on to the Heart Sutra, which is next, but we're going to skip because just for time. So when you go to a teaching with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, especially in India, sometimes there's a half an hour of preliminary prayers. Like that's how important it is to get your mind in the right space. So we'll talk about that, and there might be a chance that I lead a couple of the Sunday meditations. Maybe we'll see. So again, when you meditate, I just want to mention this overall because the Sunday meditations are short. It's just a half an hour, so I wouldn't have time to go through a whole meditation component. But what you want to do with meditation, some of you are already meditating, great. You're doing it daily or several times a week. But what happens is we come in from busy lives. You sit down somewhere in your home, you made a little place, something like that. But we rush in, we sit down, you plunk yourself down on a cushion, and then you expect everything to be all ready for meditation. So we forget the relaxed component. You have to relax your body. You scan through the body. It's one of the most important parts of your meditation posture. So first you want to get the posture right. But then give yourself a moment. So these prayers are like that as well. I'm putting my mind, I'm now directing my mind. We're going this way because the mind's over here, the mind's over here, and it's up here. So that relaxed part, an inhalation and exhalation, and I start telling my body and mind, oh, I'm meditating now. I'm going to meditate now. Can you hold that question? And we'll take questions a little later. Okay, so it's really important thing of just do a 2-minute scan, let it all go. Let it all go. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is just some preliminaries. You offer a mandala, and what the mandala symbolizes is a world system. And there's lots of verses in here of eliminating obstacles, and then there's a whole lineage lama's prayer to kind of say to all these beings where the lineage came from the Buddha, through all these other teachers. Okay, then through His Holiness the Dalai Lama, then to Lama Zopa Rinpoche, then to me, taught to me, ear whisper teachings from that Lama's mouth to me in person, to my ears. So it's a very authentic lineage, directly back to the Buddha, directly back to the Buddha. So it goes through this whole lineage, and you think about all these holy beings that preceded us. But then standard is a mandala offering. So what that is a world system you visualize. And then it's symbolic of in ancient days. Here's a short mandala we're going to do. In ancient days, the Dharma wasn't readily given. You needed a lot of merit to get one line of the Dharma. Okay, this is where we're spoiled now. Okay, all the centers teaching Dharma. Oh, Alamrim, I've had that before. I don't need to do, In the ancient days, you would travel 2,000 miles with your most precious jewel and offer that to get one line of the teaching. That's how rare and special it was. Like that, unless you could be at a monastery and nunnery or some educational system like Nalanda Monastery in the eastern plains of India, that you can visit the ruins these days, like that. So it's just symbolic about that. And then sometimes we put our hands in a certain configuration that represents the mandala, the world system. The center is Mount Meru, the center of Buddhist cosmology. There's 4 little parts to this, and those are 4 continents around that center inverted mountain. Okay, so it's just symbolic. Okay. You want to visualize the most incredible world system you can that's filled with the most precious things of food and drink and gems and beautiful scenery and beautiful flowers and trees and beautiful sunsets and all the love you've ever experienced, your precious life, all your precious family and friends. And in our tradition, the Gelug tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, or Gelugpa, it's very much about mind expansion. So imagine on every atom of that mandala that you visualize are infinite more mandalas. So we'll read this verse with that in mind. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents, the sun and the moon, I imagine this is a Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. We'll go to this last line, Idam Guru, and that means for the precious guru, precious teachers, please accept this incredible world system so that I can get a teaching, that I can listen well, like that. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niratayami. And then we have refuge and bodhicitta before the teaching, the standard 4-line verse. So if I give refuge to people, I ask that they please recite, it's a different version of this, 3 times in the morning, 3 times later in the day or in the evening. And the whole path is contained in these 4 verses. So the 3rd line, when you're before teaching, is slightly different because it says, by the merits I create through listening to the Dharma. So in your own practice, it says, by the merits I create through generosity and the other, practicing generosity and the other perfections. Okay, which also creates all the merit you need, all the good conditions to practice and get enlightened. So it would say in the Tibetan, Dagi Jin Sogi Pe, so Namki, instead of Dagi Jin Ningi Pe. Okay, so we're going to recite this twice in English and once in the phonetics. Feel free to join in. Really think about what you're saying. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye chodan soki cho namla janchu bardu dagni kyapsuchi dagi chen yingi peso namki trola pencher sangye drupa sho. So just for a moment, close your eyes for a moment and just think about your own reason for being here right now. And in setting your motivation for our time together, as well as all the activities of the rest of your day, this is you directing your mind in a most positive direction. And if you like the idea of a Mahayana motivation, Mahayana is greater vehicle, universal vehicle. So the goal is not to get enlightened. That's a means. Getting enlightened is the means to benefiting all living beings. There's 2 components of a Mahayana motivation. I want to get enlightened, so I want to become a Buddha, which means fully awakened being. I want to do that for the second purpose, to benefit all living beings. If you like that idea, please include that in your motivation. At the very least, this is you placing your mind in the most positive framework. So please relax and ready, slowly open your eyes. So even though that took a little bit of time, okay, and there's just a few other things I wanted to explain this morning, so I thought it was worthwhile to do. So the thing is with the prayers, you can do prayers more quickly if you need to. So people feel like I need to be very slowly. Lama Zopa Rinpoche, when he was out of time, sometimes in a rented space, like that, he would do dedications really quickly. It's okay, as long as your mind is focused there. So don't feel like everything needs to drag out. We're busy people, right? And you get familiar, and if you recite something out loud, you will eventually memorize it. If you don't say it out loud, you won't memorize it. So it's nice because then if you memorize something, then you're driving to work, or you're driving somewhere, that's what's going through your mind, rather than more negative rumination, right? That we have going through our mind a lot. Okay. Can you hold your question till later, or is it,
Yes, I'm good.
is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I will make time for questions. So what's all this about karma? Okay. We have these different ideas about karma. Okay. Let's explore a little bit. We don't have a lot of time, but it just gives you some idea of what do we talk about when people say, oh, she's got good karma. He's got good, bad karma. Karma is a Sanskrit word that simply means action, okay? And so the action is, it's the movement of your mind. It's the movement of your consciousness. I'm equating mind with consciousness. Your mind in Tibetan Buddhism is not your brain. It's not your brain, okay? I just want to check one thing. Okay, thank you for joining online as well. And one thing I wanted to mention to the folks online, sorry, I'm a little strict, but it's really helpful if you can think that you are in a gompa. You've come into the gompa, that you have your camera on, so you're participating, okay? Some of the centers do this, Dharma etiquette, okay? And what happens is you even feel it on Zoom that this is not a time to be having food or drink. Technically, it's really not. So I've had people that signed up on Zoom courses, and then every time she got on, she was having dinner. So that's not what we do in Gompa. So it's better for your practice in your mind, honestly. That's the only reason I'm saying that. So if that's possible, also if you're in somewhere where you're moving around, turn your camera off then, because it's very distracting. But you really want to get into a habit when you do attend Zoom teachings that you're really showing up and not doing other stuff. So it can create your own obstacles. But thank you for joining. And I will make time for questions as well for anybody on Zoom. So karma, this word action, in Tibetan Buddhism, the mind is not the brain. Many of you have done courses on the mind. The mind is not physical like the brain. And this is what's hard for us to understand. What is our mind? What is our consciousness? That's another course. It would be brilliant to do the Discovering Buddhism course on mind and its potential. So this is a big tradition, the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, especially the Gelugpa tradition. There's 4 sects of Tibetan Buddhism, Gelugpa being one of them. And it's very much a tradition about the mind. So in Tibetan, there's a lot of words for mind. So it tells you something about the importance of where you're placing your consciousness, like that. And a lot of times we're not placing it in a positive direction. Okay. And many people come to me because they have ruminating negative thoughts. Anybody in here like that? Right? And they can't control their thoughts. So this is a path of controlling your mind and your thoughts, and it's brilliant. And you'll be much happier, much more peaceful. Okay. So then we have this idea of karma, and this is a law. Tibetan Buddhism says, many of you may not believe it, I understand. Right? It's a law. It shows up whether you believe it or not. And what it means is there's a cause and effect relationship to everything. Cause and effect relationship. That is karma. Okay. And what it means is that action, that movement of your mind, okay, it creates results in the future of your consciousness. Creates results in the future of your consciousness. Like that. So, and karma, so there's 4 characteristics we can understand of karma. And I will say that karma is incredibly sophisticated. Okay, you need a highly realized mind to understand all the workings of karma. Okay, so ordinary people, we can't understand is, why did this horrible thing happen to this person who's so good all the time? Okay, you need a highly realized mind to see that. And there's stories, if you read some of the commentaries on the more extensive books of the Lam Rim. So for instance, I see the text in the back already, I can see. So they've got some Lam Rim books there on the shelf. and they have one of our more famous kind of Bibles is Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand. Okay. So after you've gone through some thinner Lamrim books, please start with the small ones, outline them, get to know them. Great. Okay. In fact, what I'll do is I updated what I call a cheat sheet. I updated this recently and I've been giving it out to centers that would like. So this is just some basic fundamentals of getting started. Okay. And it has Lama Zopa Rinpoche's advice as well, which a lot of my stuff follows that. And it has some basic preliminary prayers you can do for your meditation, but it has lots of guides of how to meditate on the Lam Rim, how to do effective analytical meditation on the Lam Rim. People don't want to do this. Westerners are bored. They don't want to do it. This is what fixes your mind. Okay. Takes you through all the topics of the philosophy that Discovering Buddhism does as well, in individual modules on each topic. Okay. But if you'd like this, I can email it to Anthony or Don, and then they can pass it out. They can email it to all of you, and it just shows you. So here's what happens is people hear about this prayer and Lamrim outlines and that guide by Sangye Kadro, Venerable Sangye Kadro, and who just has a new book out on how to meditate on Lamrim. It's fantastic, right? Venerable Thubten Chudran has guided meditations on the Lamrim. So they're audios. Listen, you don't know how to meditate? Listen to those, right? So what happens is you hear this and then you go, well, where do I get that book, right? I have all the links for you. It's all there. All you do is you click on it and there it is. Some of them you may have to purchase. Some of them you download for free. There's the thing. There's even there is a video commentary of the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga practice that we're going to do Monday nights. So you want to go back over that and you forgot what Amy said and you go back and you just watch 15 minutes at a time. You don't have time. You watch a little bit at a time. Make your notes. Write down your questions. Get them answered at the center. This is how we start practicing. Okay. But here's the advice I'm going to give you. If you look at this sheet, okay, you take one piece at a time. Don't get overwhelmed by, oh my God, that's 17 pages. You take one piece at a time. Okay. Click on it, look at it, and do it for 2 weeks. Spend 2 to 3 weeks with one booklet, one simple, until you're more familiar. Okay. One of the booklets on there, basic Guru Yoga practice, is the Shakyamuni Buddha daily practice booklet. It's a little booklet. You can travel with it. No excuses anymore. It's a simple, okay. It's also contained in the volume 1 FPMT prayer book. It's part of that. Okay. But they took it out, made a little booklet. Okay. You can just download it. So your basic, and it's got all the prayers in there. Everything you need is in there. Lamrim prayer. Slowly you learn how to do the booklet. You don't have time to do it in one day. Take a few pages. Next day, a few more pages. Next day, a few more pages. You don't know what that prayer means? You write a note, write it down. What do I find out? Go online, research about the prayer. That's the kind of engagement. Okay. It takes effort. But look at what you're making effort at right now. What do you make effort at? Okay. What do you make effort at? I'll be honest. I made some effort last night. I made some effort last night because anyway, many people know this, I'm a big baseball fan. Okay. I wanted to watch the last game of the World Series last night. Okay. And I had a friend that was texting me, do you have it on? Are you watching? Things like that. Okay. This is a mundane thing. Okay. Nuns need a break too. Okay. I'm an ordinary person. I just wanted to have a couple hours, nothing big. I just couldn't watch a little bit and I couldn't get it on the TV where I was staying. It was the funniest thing. I just was kind of like, this is my karma. This has happened before. This is not, it was a little bit like, Rinpoche, is that you not wanting me to watch this baseball game? Right. So it was just the funniest thing. I finally got it on. I got it on. It's just, but again, I made effort. There was like 20 minutes where I was, so, and part of me was going, do I really need to watch? So think about the things. Be honest with yourself. What do you make effort? Is it valuable for your mind? Helpful for your mind? Not helpful for your mind. Okay. So not helpful for your mind, can you adjust and reduce a little bit of that, making effort in that direction? And then enhance a little bit, making a little bit more effort in this direction. but adjust it of what's realistic for you. Can I take 10 minutes of that time waster and add 10 minutes here? That's what you have to do. If you want to be happier and more peaceful, really it works. Okay. So again, you take one of those little links, bite-sized chunks, Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, bite-sized chunks with your practice. Don't get overwhelmed with one thing and if you want to spend 2 to 4 weeks with that one thing, and then you'll get familiar with it and you'll know what's going on. You go, oh, I know this. And then that booklet becomes faster. You go through the prayers quicker. You know what they're about. Okay. Basic Guru Yoga practices are centered in something called a 7-limb prayer. 7-limb prayer. So we'll talk more about that Monday night. And if you don't know what that is, you can find out from the center. If you do, it's a beautiful prayer. You can do it in 7 lines, but some of the Guru Yoga practices, they're paragraphs. Some of them are several paragraphs, so it gets longer. So you decide which Guru Yoga is going to work for you right now. And you start that as a little basis of your practice. Gives you inspiration like that. So what we can understand about karma is 4 characteristics. And what Buddhism says is characteristic number 1, karma is definite. Karma is definite. Okay, what does that mean? It means that if I think a good thought, it definitely plants a good seed in my consciousness, in my mind, that will result in happiness for me. If I say something good to somebody, something kind, definitely results in happiness for me in the future. That imprint goes in from every activity of your body, speech, and mind. Karma is definite, and it will definitely ripen in one of those ways. Now, if I do a lot of virtuous activities with my body, speech, and mind, okay, that will definitely turn up for happiness, pleasure for you in the future. Could be this life, could be future lives. So how it ripens, why does it ripen in this life? Why does it not ripen until the next life? That you need an intricately, highly realized mind to understand. Okay, but what will happen is it definitely ripens like that. Positive manifestations get positive results. Negative activities get negative results. Sadness, misfortune for you. Okay, that's the first karma, first definite characteristic we can understand, karma. Everything you think, say, and does leaves an imprint in your mind that will ripen. And what happens is if you have good imprints in your mind and you have a lot of negative behavior, you don't dedicate the merit from the good imprint, from the good activity, then you get really angry. It rips away, destroys some of that positive energy. And if you do some really negative stuff, okay, but you're able to purify it first through purification practices like Vajrasattva, okay, then it may not ripen as something as negative as it could be. So those are different ways we can affect the outcome, but it definitely will have a result. Karma, number 2 characteristic. What do you remember? Who knows? Number 2. Some of you know this.
It increases.
It increases. Thank you. Karma expands. It increases. So you stepped on an ant, a tiny insect, at this moment. And if you did it intentionally, you wanted to kill the insect, and you don't do any purification by the end of the day, it grows every day, bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, like killing a larger animal, like killing a human. So that freaks people out. Okay. Positive things also increase. You dedicate in the right way, positive things will increase like that. Okay. So it expands. Okay. So we can always purify anything, but it doesn't mean that you get to do the negative things all the time, just because I can purify later. You really don't want to create a lot of the negativities. Okay. Number 3. Anybody remember? Some of you have done courses on karma. Number 3 characteristic of karma.
Specificity. Specific.
Specificity, or over time that, actually you don't experience somebody else's karma. That's right. You won't experience, thank you. So you won't be experiencing somebody else's karma. You're in a car accident, you're blaming the guy next to you. It's your fault. Now maybe they were driving improperly. Okay. But you have the karma in your own mind to experience being in a car accident. Right? Like that. Number 4.
Never lost.
Never lost. So karma's never lost over time. Over time, the karmic fruition will ripen, will come into being. But again, I explained the different outcomes based on, you can purify something before it ripens. You might have the karma to have a brain tumor. I'll give you an example. You may have created a cause. I don't know what that cause is specifically, creates you to have a brain tumor. Okay. But you do so much purification practices that you end up just having a really bad headache one day. Finished. No more karma for a brain tumor. I had a friend years ago, was a butcher in Australia. Butcher in Australia. Had a huge butcher business from the family. Okay. Became a monk many years later. He passed away now, but became a monk. And became, when he got involved in Buddhism, was really practicing, and then realized all the killing karma that he had controlled, all these sheep and all these animals he'd killed. And he spoke to Lama Zopa Rinpoche about it. But he had been running centers, doing all these purification practices, had such a kind heart. And then Rinpoche said, oh no, you purified all that when you were director of Tushita, this one center. Right. So think about that, what you're purifying. Right? If you do it with the right motivation, you need the right motivation.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you really do something virtuous with wholeheartedly, really wanting to help with a good motivation, you have to have a good motivation, dedicate the merits. It really can create a lot of purification of negative tendencies like that. So those are 4 characteristics of karma. Again, karma is definite, it expands. Okay. You won't experience a karma you did not create the cause for. You won't experience the result. And over time, it will not lose the potency to ripen. Will ripen in one way or another. Okay. And then what we learn from understanding this, and it a little bit freaks people out. You go, I did all these negative things. Okay. I mean, I killed a lot of insects when I was a child. And I did it, part of it was when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and it was springtime, and my mom wanted the porch cleaned, and it was closed for the winter because it wasn't heated in the winter. And then she'd say, go out with the vacuum and get all the insects. Well, there were spiders living, there were insects that were living. And I, out of following trying to obey my mother, I went out there and very happily vacuumed up all the insects. But I didn't know that killing then was seen as a negative action. Okay. So again, you get mixed karmas all the time. People that tell white lies. You told somebody something that wasn't true, negative. That's negative. Okay. But I did it because I didn't want to hurt them. So we're having a lot of mixed karmas. Okay. But with lying, get more creative, where you can always find a more creative, truthful way to say something. So you get a little bit more creative as a Buddhist, like that, if you're really watching the activities of your body, speech, and mind. Okay. Here we go. So I wanted to talk, one of the things we do is we learn how to conduct myself then. And karma comes in the teachings of the lower capable being of the Lam Rim. It's the first scope of the Lam Rim. The Lam Rim is divided into 3 sections, 3 scopes based on your motivation. So a lower capable being's motivation to practice is, I'm terrified I'm going to die, and I'm not really prepared. And when I die, things could be a lot worse. What comes next? So that motivates you, that fear motivates you to practice. So in that scope of the Lam Rim, the topics are, number 1, you have a precious human rebirth. You have a fantastic opportunity right now to practice. Everyone in this room has that. Okay. That gives you that buoyant cushion. I want to do this, right? But I know the second part is this situation is rapidly finishing. Death and impermanence. So it takes you through teachings on that. And when I do die, there are lower realms of existence Buddhism talks about. Okay. And that terrifies you. So it doesn't terrify you in a paralytic way. Let it fuel your practice. Okay. I can do something about it right now. All of you can take control of your mind and purify all the negative tendencies you have. Everyone is able to do that in this room if you put your mind to it. So following that, what terrifies me is to end up in some less fortunate realm. We know there's a lot of people on the planet right now experiencing that, right? So what I want to do is take refuge. This is another topic. Okay, I want to find more protection. And we would learn the qualities of Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, 3 jewels of refuge, okay? And to understand more about their qualities inspires you that they are a source of deeper protection from suffering. And you look at the other things you take refuge in and you realize friends and family, when I have a problem, I go to physical exercise, I go to food, I go to streaming TV shows or videos, listening to music, all these things layer some temporary relief, but it doesn't end the suffering. Doesn't really fix. So what about Buddha, Dharma, Sangha? You explore that. And then the last main topic of the lower capable being's motivation is karma. So then I need to know how to conduct myself. So what we do is avoid something called the 10 non-virtues that comes under these teachings, 10 non-virtues. Okay, 3 of them relate to things you do with your body, 4 are things you do with your speech, and 3 are things you do with your mind. What's number 1? From your body, what do we avoid? Killing or harming beings. Okay, killing or harming beings. Most of us are not going to kill a human, probably, but check out your relationship with insects. How's that going for you? Because in Buddhism, we really try to refrain from insects. It does need a little bit more creativity sometimes to avoid killing insects. I've done it many times. It's really and just check how you feel when you've avoided killing an insect or you've liberated it outside like that. Number 2 of the body. What do? We avoid.
Sexual misconduct.
We avoid, sorry.
Stealing.
Sorry, say it louder. Substances? No. We avoid, well, no, sorry, substances, yeah. But the second one is, no, that's not one of the ones. Sorry about that. Stealing, thank you. Stealing's number 2. So we avoid stealing. So here's where we're not going to go out and steal a car. Okay. But what we get into is, do you ever take something that wasn't offered? Do you ever borrow without asking? Those are basically degrees of stealing. So you want to get real with yourself about that. Do you ever borrow a book from somebody and you really had no intention of ever returning it, or some item from somebody? I'm not giving it back to him. He's got 3 of them. That's stealing. I had an issue years ago. We don't really have this anymore. People work remotely. They're not, I had an issue years ago with the delectable. I worked in offices. The delectable office supply cabinet was filled with all the legal pads and all the pens, boxes of pens and scissors and staplers. And so they're there for you to use those in your office. Or if you took work home, to use it for that, to return it. I wasn't going to return some of those things. That's stealing, right? Right. So you just want to be honest with yourself. So third one that we avoid with our body. Sexual misconduct, thank you. So we have harming or killing, we avoid stealing, we avoid sexual misconduct. Okay. So the substances, somebody over here was saying substances, is more about the 5 precepts when you become a Buddhist. And you would avoid intoxicants as one of those. It's one of the precepts, one of the vows you can take, like that. So they're all related in a way. But you would avoid sexual misconduct, which relates to adultery or interfering with people in a relationship, especially intimately, and because of your activity, they break up. It's really fully. So those are the 3 you do with your body. 4 you do with your speech. We avoid and these are in order of heaviness. Number 1, lying. Thank you. So, and I'll give you the ethical guideline that we do. Like, so an ethical guideline against killing would be respecting life, respecting all life forms, taking care of life, if you can, if you have an opportunity like that. So even right now, there's people that we have heard due to the government shutdown that may lose their SNAP benefits for lower income people that are relying on food stamps, relying on this to feed their kids, to feed their families. So if you decide and you're going to go and volunteer in a soup kitchen or offer food, that's a way of a kind of counter to harming and killing, is to, taking care of life, feeding people like that. So a counter to stealing would be making offerings, generosity, being very cautious when you borrow anything of anyone, taking very good care, returning it in the same way, being very conscious of not just borrowing. So when somebody comes to stay with me, if you come and spend a couple of days or something, when you get there, I just say in the house, help yourself to anything. Like if you go in the bathroom, just open the cabinet, you need something, open the cabinets. That way there's no issue of them ever stealing, because I offered. Go in the refrigerator, you need something, go in the cabinets, just help yourself if I'm not here, make yourself at home. Then they don't have to worry about any of that, taking what isn't offered. I offered it like that. A counter to sexual misconduct, respecting your relationships, especially intimate ones. So being really kind to your spouse, to your partner, right? And respecting the relationships of others that are in relationship, an intimate relationship. So if you know it bothers your partner to flirt and you do it in front of them or not in front of them, that's a lighter degree of sexual misconduct. So those are the kind of things we get in trouble with, okay? A counter number with the 4 with speech, a counter to lying is speaking honestly, truthfully. Okay. Second one with our speech. What do we avoid? That's number 3. Thank you. Divisive speech. Divisive speech is number 2. Okay. When you say the instigators are like this, they say things. Did you know that he was, he said this about you? Did you know that? That kind of stuff gets people really torn up. Okay. So anytime you can say things that bring people together, fantastic. Our country needs this right now, right? Our country needs us to dialogue, especially with other. Don't just judge and yell and get hostile, as we need to find ways to create healthy relationships with everybody. Okay, I'm starting to engage in some work locally with some people through something called Braver Angels. Look it up, Braver Angels. It's how do you talk across the aisle? How do you talk with somebody that I completely politically disagree with? There's ways to find, and you don't need to use those little poking points. You call somebody a liberal, you call them a conservative, that pokes people. But if you kind of say, I'm kind of interested in why you really think right now that we should cut these benefits to people. Tell me about why you think that's okay. I'm real, but you're really interested. You're not being snippy with them. And it creates, and it doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but it starts to create a way we can dialogue. That would be fantastic. Number 3, harsh speech. We avoid harsh speech with our speech. That's yelling at people, cursing at people, horribly negatively criticizing people. Okay. So an antidote to this would be genuinely, though sincerely, saying kind things to people, saying positive, supportive things to people like that. And the 4th one we avoid with our speech is gossip. Okay. It's the least in heaviness, but the issue with gossip is we do it all the time. Okay. I could go on for you about last night's baseball game. Okay. Anybody watch it?
Oh, yeah.
It was an amazing game. Okay.
Amazing series.
An amazing series, but I'm not going to go on because it's a waste of your time. And a lot of you are not interested. So when you go on and on about your sports team and the series that you're watching that this person is not interested in, you tell them every twist and plot. I have some people in my life, they need to, and I'm like, really don't need to know all this. That's gossip. Let alone talking about someone behind their back is gossip, blatant gossip. But gossip's time wasters. Meaningless speech is what gossip is. And we do it all the time. We do it all the time. Now, it doesn't mean that you're with your family and friends, they're not Buddhist, and you go, I can only talk about Dharma. Sorry. No. Be realistic. Of course you would have normal conversations with people and other things, but if somebody's really sitting with you and it's just negative is all they're saying about somebody, you can interrupt and you can say, you can bring in a positive thing about that person that they're talking about. I have excused myself from conversations and could you just excuse me a minute? I need to go to the bathroom, to interrupt that flow of their negative, critical speech. If I'm very close with them, I've actually said to some people, do you mind if we talk about something else? I'm not really comfortable with the conversation. Can we? So there's different ways you can, in a relaxed way, genuinely change the topic. So those are the 4 speech we avoid. There's 3 related to our mind that we avoid. Number 1, anybody know? 3rd activity, that's number 2. Thank you.
Stubbornness.
Covetousness. No, you're doing great. You're doing great. Absolutely. He's out there trying. He's got them in his head. He's doing it. Right. There's some centers I go to. It's so funny. There's some centers that have really experienced students and you're saying something that just to, see what people know, and it's like deer in the headlights. They're all like, I'm like, is anybody home? Hello? So he's out there trying. He's going, covetousness is the first of the mind, a greedy mind. You want stuff that other people have. Think about that jealous mind. It's not a comfortable place at all. Okay, covetousness. We avoid that. An antidote to that would be being happy with other people's successes, what they get, rejoicing in, the things they have and being happy for them. Okay. Second one of our, and sorry, that's the third one. The third one you mentioned is wrong views. The second one that we avoid with our mind is harmful intent. Malice is the same word, malice. Okay. And an antidote to this is, and it's wishing others evil. An antidote to this is be wishing others well and being happy again at their successes and really wishing them all the good fortune. And the third one we avoid with our mind is holding wrong views. So holding wrong views relates to emptiness. Okay. But other wrong views we have, there's people that don't believe in reincarnation. Okay. So here's the difference. And please be discerning about everything I'm saying. Don't just accept it because I'm a Buddhist nun and right. You have to check up and investigate. This thing she said about karma and this thing she said about the mind and these different things. So if you're discerning and you're not sure about reincarnation, I wasn't in the beginning myself, and you just put it over here for the time being, and then go into the parts of the philosophy that make sense to you. And later, go back into reincarnation. But if you feel like all the Buddhists talk about death and impermanence, and I think I'm going to live forever in this body, I think that's garbage what they're talking about. That's holding a wrong view. That's holding a wrong view. Okay. So those are the 10 non-virtues with ethical guidelines of how to conduct ourselves. And then you want to understand the ripening qualities. How does something ripen? This is a level we can understand. How does something ripen, meaning come to fruition? So my activity got going, and I'll give you an example with killing. Okay. So let's look at the different ways the killing manifests. Okay. You need some components. You need 4 different components for it to be considered a full, heavy, completed killing karma. And what that does is it gets you a more negative result. Sometimes they're not fully all there. Then it's a lighter ripening. Okay. Number 1, you have a basis. What's the basis in killing? Okay. It's a living being other than yourself. It's a living being other than yourself. So suicide, which is killing, because it's killing yourself, okay, it has a lesser killing result in the future. Okay, so number 1 is basis, and it's a living being other than yourself. Number 2 is your intention. What's your intention for doing it? Okay, and this is made up of different components. Okay, I've got a recognition. Okay, and the recognition is that I identify exactly who I'm planning to kill. I'm going to kill that insect like that. I'm going to kill that bug. That's what I intend to kill. That mosquito is bothering me. That's what I'm going to kill. Okay, there's a motive. I'm going to kill I'm going to kill it. I want to kill it. And then I have a delusion. So all these components are always accompanied by an imbalance in your mind. That's what delusion means. I'll give you another synonym of delusion: afflictive emotion. Afflictive emotion. So you got it. So the mosquito is buzzing around and annoying me. So I got a little bit of anger, irritation, flaring up, that delusion, that imbalance in the mind. I have attachment. I could kill the insect out of attachment because it's buzzing around my forehead. I don't want it biting me here, and I'm going to have a big red welt on my forehead. I'm attached to what I look like. Okay. We kill mostly, we do all these negativities out of ignorance and confusion. The very root of all the 6 root delusions, ignorance or confusion. Why? Because I have a misknowing of reality. I don't have direct perception of emptiness. I'm confused like that. Okay. So those, and then I have number 3, the third component after intention, the deed. You carry out the killing. Do it in whatever way you do it. Because you can even tell someone else to kill them. So this is heavy. This is really heavy. Sorry to inform you when you have your house exterminated. It's a lot of killing karma. But it's interesting. I just want to talk about how your mind changes over time. And you can do purification. I understand. I've lived in buildings with termites. with tick manifestations, with all kinds of insect manifestations. Okay. It never fully ultimately gets rid of them. It gets rid of them temporarily. They come back. Okay. So I'll just give you an example. And this is what's really hard for us is we don't do this level of practice to really understand. Okay. Because with karma, again, cause and effect, this is the magic cause and effect relationship. Okay. What sometimes we say in our culture, something wonderful manifests and people go, oh, it's a miracle. It's not a miracle. The cause was there. There was a preceding cause, is what Buddhism says. The only way this thing could manifest is because there was a preceding cause. How else did it happen? But we layer it was a miracle that it happened. You can create anything in your life, any wonderful, positive thing to manifest in your life based on the cause. And I'll give you an example of this worldwide. So years ago, some people feel like right now we're having a challenging time in the States based on different political agendas, whatever. Some people are really affected by this and not agreeing or disagreeing or whatever. Okay. So some years ago, some of you may remember this. There was something called the Berlin Wall. Okay. So when I grew up and I heard about the Iron Curtain and communism and Russia and blah, 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 and the USSR and all this and the Berlin Wall, it never seemed like it was going to move. You know, there was always the us and them type of thing. If you were born in the United States or in what we might call the free world, like that. And you'd hear different stories about people that had escaped and people that had, you know, gotten amnesty and all these other things, right? And then something changed and a different leader came into the USSR and different set of conditions worldwide. And then the Berlin Wall came down. We never thought that would happen, right? Some of you remember, I mean, that seemed impossible. People like, this is miraculous. Cause got created. So it's a number of causes in karma. And again, those intricate causes that we don't know until you have a highly realized mind that all line up. So anything's possible. Right now, we're having a different karmic manifestation in the United States, all because of previous causes that got going. Previous causes. So anything's possible because everything's empty of inherent concrete nature. Okay. So you do the deed, you identify, and you can even tell somebody else to do. Okay. Number 4 of these 4 components is the completion of the deed. The other person dies before you do. That's how it's completed. The insect dies before I do. Okay. And sometimes you have happiness about that. You celebrate that. So that makes it even heavier. Okay. So just as component, just to understand how it gets composed. If you accidentally step on an insect, which we do all the time, and every time I drive, I know I'm running over insects. Right. I have stuff in my car to like mantras on the front, all these things to prevent, at least to lessen. But if you're going to drive, you're going to walk, sometimes you accidentally step on something, and I have regret if I see it actually happen. And that's why I do some sort of purification practice every evening to just whatever got happening that day. I've got my Vajrasattva practice I do every night, just clean up whatever I messed up during the day. And there's always something, body, speech, and mind. Okay. So those are the ripening effects. I'll just give you a different one, or pick one of the non-virtues. Pick another non-virtue that you want to go through the 4 effects to understand. Anybody?
Tough one, maybe try idle talk. Is there's that did that
Gossip?
work? Yeah,
Let's look at gossip. Something we do a lot.
that's what
Okay.
I figured might be helpful.
That's a good one. Okay. Idle gossip. Okay. The basis of idle gossip, okay, is something meaningless or insignificant that I treat as important. Okay. So it's actually what I'm about to talk about. Okay. Something meaningless or insignificant, but I think it's important. I think you need to hear it. It's going to come out of my mouth in this one. Okay. That's number 1. That's my basis. My intention, number 2, is these 3 components. My recognition, I believe that what I'm about to say is important or meaningful. Okay. Even though it's not, but I believe it is. Okay. My motive is I'm going to say these words. I'm going to tell you, about this story, about what I watched on TV or something. And the delusion is Well, I'm attached to you thinking that I'm great based on what I'm about to tell you, this meaningless thing. Or I'm really angry at this other person and I need to get this out. And I want to tell you all the little working, all the details of it in a really negative way, like that. Okay. So this is slightly different than venting to someone. You're experiencing a problem, right? You're looking for some help, constructive help, and you say to a friend or something, can I run something by you? I'm really struggling with this. That's different. That's different. But this is just meaningless thing. I'm not really considering your space, whatever. I'm not looking for help. I just need to kind of vomit this out, this negative stuff. The deed is speaking without purpose. Okay. You could even get someone else to do it for you. So if you repeat a story meaninglessly, they might tell somebody else. So it goes on like that. So think about negative rumination in your mind. And when you decide, and Americans are like, just from being around the world in a while, we're very opinionated, aren't we? We're one of the most opinionated cultures that I ride through. It's amazing. And I'm amazed at how people have to put their stuff out there. Think about how somebody else might respond. You come to dinner with some friends and you just want to have a nice dinner with people. Kind of calm. And do I ever consider that what I'm about to say now, they may not need to really hear this right now. We're having a kind of peaceful dinner. And so let's think about that. Yesterday I was in the airport. God bless, but I'm no offense to you white men, but what I want to say about the position of the white male in society and how they need to express themselves sometimes. I was just amazed at like looking around the airport and hearing conversations near me. It was just so funny of people just spewing their stuff, and I could see other people kind of shrinking back and going like, oh, I don't know what to say to this person. It's really, so think about that. That I'm then gonna express this. Speaking without person. The completion is when you actually express the words, express the meaningless words, whether it's boring what you're saying and you've said it a million times before and has no purpose for them, or it's something negative that disturbs their minds. Idle gossip. So one thing, and I will make time for questions, we also have some things called completing karma and throwing karma. Completing karma and throwing karma. Okay, so completing karma is, you could have good completing karma. You could be a human being, that's good completing karma. How did your rebirth complete? And you got into a human realm. Fantastic. So very, very good completing karma. Okay, but you're a woman in Afghanistan. So very, very bad. I'm sorry, no, throwing karma throws you into the next rebirth. So the throwing karma, sorry, would be good. You became a human being. But how it completed that rebirth is you're a woman in Afghanistan. Very, very poor karma. Gets you into an unfree situation like that. You are, negative throwing karma. You're one of your pets. Okay, you came back as a dog or cat in one of your households, but I have a feeling if you're in one of your households, probably treated pretty well. You got food, get attention, you get some affection, safety, like that. Okay, so the throwing karma throws you into a negative realm. We consider the top of the lower realms as the animal realm, not a good rebirth. Okay, but you end up as a pet in one of your nice completing karma. You might get mantras said to you, good care, good food, safety, things like that. Okay. Collective karma. We also have collective karma. So we have collective is perhaps, I don't know, but based on what went on with the Holocaust, Nazi Germany. So you could say 6 million Jews and a number of other people, homosexuals, Roma people, all kinds of different people were killed, including 6 million Jews. So you go, it's horrible. What did they do to anybody? Perhaps together as another army, they attacked somebody else. So all the all the German soldiers that may have actively wanted to kill Jews may end up in another situation where they together creating that killing karma. Together they may suffer collectively like that. That's sometimes the way we talk about collective karma, together, all these people going through something together. But again, karma is really intricate. So it doesn't mean that you were collectively in the same army. You could have been in another army in ancient days, and then it ripened in that lifetime, like that. Karma is also effective based on the basis that you're doing it against. So they say it's worse to create negativity against your particular teachers or highly realized beings because they have a much more positive effect on many more beings in the world. Your parents as an object of veneration are higher than just ordinary beings because your parents give you a precious life like that. So when you do negative things to them or when you do something really kind to your parents, that's better karma, things like that. It's also heavy based on what's the nature of the negativity you're doing. So killing's a lot heavier than idle gossip, for instance. So there's just a few things I wanted to say, but I want to make time for questions. Is this helpful? Just to give you a brief overview, there's a whole course on karma that we can do. So I just wanted to give you a few things. So for anybody here, and let me take your question first. Because we have till 12:30, is that right? Is it?
12:30, yeah.
Okay.
You were talking about meditation. For the new people here, like me, you were saying like about a posture, correct? Posture for meditation.
Yep.
But then create like, by the way, so the question was about the correct posture.
Yes.
But what would it be like a daily practice for newbies?
Yes. So you're going to look at that sheet that I'll send out
Okay.
because it's too long to go into it here. Yeah, it's
Okay.
but what I would do is start with meditation 101. Of course, they may offer here. You can also do it online. FPMT has. There's also one of the Discovering Buddhism courses is I believe How to Meditate is one of our early Discovering Buddhism courses that I would definitely sign up for something like that. You can also do those courses online. So it goes from everything from posture and then different meditations you can start with. And I would look at the sheet that I'll send out, the instructions of some initial prayers and practices but it's not specifically geared just to meditation. So I would definitely look at the Meditation 101 or How to Meditate courses. I would also look at a book called How to Meditate. And this book is by Kathleen McDonald. That's the book in our tradition. I highly recommend it for any level of meditator. Beginning, intermediate, advanced. I refer to it a lot. I love it. How to Meditate, Kathleen McDonald. So she's our longest term nun in our tradition, Venerable Sangye Kadro. She's wonderful. And that book takes you right from posture. And it'll take you from posture into motivation. And it has all kinds of different meditations in there and how to think about the meditation and how to do the meditation. So what you can do is when you get a book like that, and you can look at it on a tablet, you can download it as an ebook. You want to just prop up the book, put it to, and then you read a sentence or two, and you stop, pause, and reflect on those sentences deeply. Go into the sentences, then stop, read another sentence. That's how you learn how to meditate. Yeah, and the Discovering Buddhism comes along with meditations. So again, the same way you'd read a couple sentences of what that meditation is, reflect more deeply on that, go to the next sentence, the next sentence, the next sentence. So do try. That's wonderful. Definitely. That's great. It'll really, really be wonderful for you.
You talk about negativity towards others. You talk about parents being in a higher realm, not being negative towards parents. But how do you deal with the concept of you're a child and there's a lot of negativity that's put on you as a child, and so you are negative because you don't know any other way to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's the circumstances, and your liberation now a lot of times involves that negative thought, meaning you're trying to move out of that negativity coming towards you.
Negativity. Yep. So parents aren't in a higher realm. I didn't say that.
No, you
It
said
means that they're a higher object of veneration. So
Right.
if you're doing negative things against your parents, it could be a little heavier karma. If you're doing positive things with your parents, it can be greater merit for you. The thing is, you have to understand about karma. This is the hardest thing for us sometimes in Buddhism. This was my teacher the last 15 years of his life, over and over.
Hand where you are.
Sorry, can we mute everyone, please? Yeah, sorry. Is many of Rinpoche's teachings was everything comes from the mind. Your reality comes from your mind.
Even as a
So-
child.
Even as a child, from day one, you're born, comes from your mind. All those karmic seeds are in your mind. And the reason you take rebirth in a certain situation, you created it. So I'm not layering negativity on you. And you go, I created the war in Ukraine, I created Gaza, because we're on a world system, we collectively are experiencing this. The individual causes of that are in your own consciousness. Some people are happy about Gaza. They think it's great. Let's annihilate the Palestinians. Some people are outraged by it. Some people, so everybody has their own experience. If I say something to you about, I can never quite get the right food. If I say eggplant to you, the vegetable eggplant, raise your hand. How many people like eggplant? Okay. How many people don't like eggplant particularly? Is it eggplant then? We have a different experience of eggplant. Is it the eggplant? No, it's your mind. So, and that's why some people, did you ever notice some people really like somebody and other people don't like them at all? So where does it come from? Is it that person? But we're taught it's external. Blame everyone outside. Blame your parents. Seeds in your consciousness when you were born. Seeds in your consciousness before you were born. We have beginningless mind in Buddhism. There's no beginning to your mind. There's no end. So you create a contract, in a sense, every moment that you're thinking, that you're saying something, and that you're doing something. You're creating a contract by making imprints in your most subtle consciousness. Those imprints will ripen in various ways, and it causes you to take rebirth to certain people in a certain situation. So some people were born to parents that had a lot of negative criticism to them. And you grow up and hopefully you become aware one day and say, I don't need to be like this. And the thing is, you can change your mind. So Buddhism, because everything comes from your mind, puts you at the controls. So think about who you can control. Can you control your mother? Your partner? Right? Your kids? Your neighbor? Your boss? You can control your mind. It's the only thing you can control. So let's start to take control of our minds through an authentic spiritual practice. Okay. And that will help you take better and better and better rebirths in the future and be happier and more peaceful and hopefully get free one day, totally become a Buddha to benefit all living beings. Is that helpful?
Yes.
Is that helpful? So something to think about. Everything comes to the mind. Poke it this week. Keep poking about, you look at a situation and you're irritated. Is everybody irritated by the situation? Yeah. You might have a few people that are irritated and you talk to them and go, this was horrible. But there's other people have a totally different view. It's got to come from the mind. And even all of those of you that are irritated together have different views in that irritation and different things. We have to keep working on it, investigating, checking.
Can I ask a question?
Anybody online as well? Question?
Can I ask you a quick?
Please.
This part is really bothers me when we talk about no attachment, then we talk about we're wishing for a better. I'm not saying we don't need to do the good deeds, but our doing the intention, doing a good deeds and compassion toward other people is wishing ourselves a better rebirth. Isn't that attachment itself?
Then His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, you mean that I'm going to do these deeds so I can become a Buddha to benefit all living beings? Then His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, then be attached like that. Right? It's not such a bad attachment if you're attached, to some degree to your practice to get enlightened to benefit others. That's your wish. So if you want to call that attachment, but you watch the attachment. You watch what you're doing with, but then he said, then be attached like that. Like that's not a bad thing to be.
If the attachment just only to, I do this only to benefit other people and end it there. And not
To get
wishing
in,
for
no,
myself.
to again, be specific, get enlightened. And this tradition, it's to get enlightened
Okay,
because then I benefit other beings perfectly as a Buddha.
all right.
It's not just to benefit others because we're going to help others. You don't not help others along the way, but we help from a limited consciousness. As a human, you're limited, right? People ask you for help. Sometimes you don't know what to say. But so you want to get enlightened first to benefit all living beings. Okay. But once you're enlightened, mind's completely merged with bliss, all the positive qualities fully manifest like that. So if you need to be attached to that, that's not such a bad thing to be attached to, but eventually the attachment will go and you're just living in that blissful Buddha consciousness all the time, benefiting all beings, whatever best way you can. Thank you. And
Uh,
anybody online, any
I-
questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
My name is Brian. I was doing in my earlier years research um, for medicine, and during this process, I sacrificed quite a few mice, and
Yep.
I suffered psychic trauma from that eventually. However, a lot of my intent was always discovery to help others. And as a consequence, I did, discover things that were very helpful to humanity and medicine and that sort of thing. However, I have this, the deep regret of all of these animals that I sacrificed or had others sacrifice for me. What type of cleansing can I participate in to help rectify what I've already done?
Yes. So I have a cousin who's a Buddhist as well, a doctor, who mentioned that with all the mice and the rats that he had dealt with. So the first thing is waking up and realizing, I don't want to do this anymore. I've done it. We would do Vajrasattva practice. I would highly recommend. Vajrasattva is simply an aspect of the Buddha, another enlightened being, a crystal radiant being, and there's a certain practice you can do. I could also direct you to a commentary on that of how to do it, but I'm sure it's all over the internet as well. We also have a practice booklet from FPMT you can download of how to do the effective practice. And that's what the thing I do every night, learning that practice. And it's nice to also have retreats. You could do a little bit at the center. Some people do it as a New Year's retreat to kind of clean out from the year. And you do the best you can. We also have practices called prostrations to the 35 confession Buddhas. It's another practice to learn that's actually using the body in full length prostrations that is immensely purifying. So that's another one. So there's a practice booklet. Learning about emptiness, meditating on emptiness would be one of the best ways to also purify. There's a number of things, reciting mantras. And those are a few things I'd recommend. The other thing is don't beat yourself up because we all have a lot of mixed karma. You were doing research to help beings. So that was really, and maybe you didn't know any better at the time. It was like me killing the insects. So then we wake up at some point, and we kind of say, I don't want to do this anymore. Or I have having great regret is the way we would do the practices. So we would do the purification practices with something called the four opponent powers. The four opponent powers. And this is normally part of a longer course on karma that I teach. So thank you for asking that question. The four opponent powers is I like to start with the power of regret so that I can really feel this was a horrible thing I did. I killed all these insects. I didn't know any better. And I feel really awful about it. They also, had lives that they valued and things. And then you can go into the other three components. They all start with R. So the second one would be refuge, power of refuge, where I'm visualize Vajrasattva in the space in front as best as I can. And I'm thinking about Vajrasattva as an aspect of the omniscient consciousness, the Buddha, that to please help me purify. Can you please help me? I really want to do this purification now. I didn't understand what I was doing at the time, destroying all those lives. I really regret it. Take refuge is a little refuge prayer you can say in the practice. The third opponent power is remedy. I'm now going to recite some Vajrasattva mantras with different visualizations, and I'm going to do that practice. And then power of resolution is the fourth. So at the end, I want to resolve. I'm going to be very conscious about killing animals in the future.
Mhm.
I'm not planning to do any more research like that will harm any animals. And you can also do some opponent things of saving the life of animals that are to be killed. So for instance, this is something you can do for people that are ill. Sometimes we're told by Lama Zopa Rinpoche to liberate animals. And there's a practice booklet on how to liberate animals with mantras and things like that. So what we would do is we went once to Chinatown in San Francisco when I was living in California. We raised money for a llama that was very sick. The community raised money. We had about $400. And Lama Zopa advised, go to Chinatown. We went to Chinatown in San Francisco when you could purchase live animals and take them out. I think now in Chinatown, they passed some ordinance that the fish have to be dead when you know, take them out. But in those days, you could leave with living fish. So we brought buckets. We found out which ones had to be released in salt water, which ones had to be released in brackish water. We got crabs. We got other animals that we released. You want to release them in a place where nothing's going to get eaten again. So be careful with bait worms. We've done bait worms at centers. People put them in their gardens, but if you put them in your garden, just cover them with a little bit of dirt so that the birds don't just swoop down.
Oh, yeah.
So you want to make sure that whatever you're releasing, and we did the prayers, we went to the oceanside, me and a friend had his pickup truck. We got a cute little wonderful Chinese man in the story, but barely spoke English. And he was with us and we picked out all these different animals and then we left. We did the practice, said all the prayers, all the mantras, released the animals in different places like that. And then we had money left over. So we went back to the shop and we wanted the guy again because he was really sweet. He was really nice. We loaded up the truck and we're standing in the middle of Stockton Street on a Saturday afternoon. It was so busy on Saturdays. It's like the shopping area in Chinatown. It was packed with people and we're kind of double parked. And the little man, he was really quite small, and then he looked at us at the end and he said to me, a heavy Chinese accent, and he said to me, and he said, what you do? He said, you restaurant? Like he thought we were taking him, I understood we taking him to a restaurant, and I looked at my friend and then I was a little embarrassed to say, we're releasing them, we're letting them live. And, and I didn't know what he'd think. Would he think that we're kind of weird? And so then I just said to him, I said, we go to the ocean and we let them go. And he totally got it. And he was so happy. And I remember him standing in the middle of Stockton Street behind our truck, and he put his hands in the air like this. It was like a little James
Oh.
Brown kind of, and he went, freedom. It was I was so touched by that. He was such a sweet, it was just the connection we had with him, and he totally got it. And then he said other people come here and have done that. He said he waited on other people that had come and released animals, and I was very moved by that. So so those are a few things, Brian, that you can do, and you can get further instruction and slowly, but don't, you're not a bad person.
Yeah.
Bad
Thank
person.
you for that.
I think there's one more.
Sheil, yes, Sheil, lovely to see you. Can you unmute?
Oh, sorry about that. I have
No problem.
just two quick questions. So follow up to what you were just saying, like, do we have to, like, if we're doing Vajrasattva, do we have to every night, like, if we've purified one act we did, do we have to keep purifying that act, or is like one time good enough and it takes care of that? That's my first question. And my second question is, when we do something good, um, do we make like like a dedication so that that positive act is like sealed in our consciousness? I just sort of want
Yes.
some direction on that, please.
Yeah, it's very good to dedicate, especially if you do something very virtuous. As soon as you can, try to, say, oh, wow, this was great. And can we dedicate to all the beings on the planet that won't ever experience this, or for the end of the war in Ukraine, the end of the situation in God, something positive. And for me to get enlightened, to benefit all living beings. Don't forget. So definitely to dedicate, seals it. We will dedicate at the end here. And then the other question is, you don't, unless you have a highly realized mind, you don't really know what you purified. So it's always good to I might purify when I'm thinking of Vajrasattva in the evening. I will think of something more specific I've done recently that I've been engaged in. It's very good to go after something immediately. Like today, I really blew it and I said this horrible thing to someone, or I, was careless something, and I want to go after that. But I also add, for all the things I've done since beginningless mind that are in my mind that I really like to clean up, because I don't know if they're purified yet or not, and then do the practice.
Thank you.
maybe one more question and then we'll dedicate. Yes, please.
Very simple about your good words. My aunt, when she passed away, my father talked about my aunt, his sister-in-law said that woman never had an unkind word to say about anybody.
Yes,
And that's, if she can do it, we can do that also.
that's very nice. Yeah, there are some people so like that, but it's also just about us being aware and waking up to our own nature. We're all different. We're all wired differently. So this is not about putting a trip on yourself because you did these negative things. Buddhism is not about blaming yourself or blaming anybody. It's just becoming aware that, and so meditation is a form of you getting to know yourself better, getting to know your mind better, and then learning how to change the negative stuff in my mind. I'd like to clean up and orient in a better way, and enhancing all the positive qualities that you already have. You already have a lot of good qualities. So reflect on that a little bit too. And then eventually you get rid of all the negativities. You enhance all the positive qualities. You become a Buddha. That's how it works, like that. Okay. So in conclusion, let's dedicate whatever positive energy, and we're going to do some formal dedication prayers too. I'll share my screen, but let's dedicate that whatever positive energy we've created, and I want to thank all of you so much for showing up online and in person for your great questions, is may we dedicate that whatever positive energy we have done from our coming together right now to help us be honest and look at our activities of body, speech, and mind, but from a relaxed place, that I can start to purify whatever negative tendencies there are that I'm continuing to do, learn about why I do them so I can steer away from them, and enhance the good qualities I have, and be able to really cultivate a rich, consistent practice as much as I can build that into my life, helping me to become a Buddha quickly, because so many beings need help, so that I can benefit all of them perfectly. And may we dedicate to all those who are struggling right now to have an ease of all their suffering immediately and completely. For all the wars on the planet to be ended right now completely. For the long lives of our precious teacher, especially His Holiness the Dalai Lama, for an optimal rebirth for Lama Zopa Rinpoche as soon as possible to help resume his position as spiritual director of the FPMT, and for a great flourishing of all of our centers, especially Thubten Kunga Center, and harmony at and among all of our centers. And then we're just going to do some dedication prayers. Feel free if you want to read together. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow. May that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, I too dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. Though this particular dedication right now, it's an abbreviated form of what longer dedication prayer? Anybody know? The King of Prayers. So the King of Prayers is a fantastic dedication prayer. You could do it at the end of every day. Samantabhadra, it's also called the prayer of Samantabhadra. Samantabhadra was an offering wizard. So if he wanted to make a light offering, whether electric or candles, he would light one candle and it would multiply into infinite candles. So the dedication is like a really strong dedication. Now it's a long prayer, the full verse of it, full form of it. So if the thing is, these prayers, again, you can recite more quickly. So I like to recite that prayer. I can do it in 10 minutes, but as long as your mind is focused on it. Again, you can recite things more quickly. When you memorize, they go a little faster. Okay. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praise is the best by the victorious ones thus gone of the 3 times, so I might perform good works. I dedicate whatever virtues I've ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of perfect, pure Losang Drakpa to shine forever. And then I have another prayer I want to do. Because of all the merits of the 3 times created by me and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and other sentient beings, may there be no famines, disease, quarreling, fighting, or unhappy minds. May there be great prosperity and may everything needed be easily obtained. May all the human beings in the world be guided by spiritual leaders, teaching only Dharma, and may everyone enjoy the happiness of Dharma. May everyone have perfect conditions and have only compassion and love for each other in their mind stream. May they only benefit and never harm each other. The short, long life prayer for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So we can recite, let's do the phonetic chant. Ganri ramwe korwe jinkam der pendang de wa malu chungwe ne chenre zigwang tenzing gyatso yi sharpe si te bardu te gyo jik. One last prayer for Lama Zopa Rinpoche's swift return. And this is a prayer written by His Holiness the Dalai Lama after Rinpoche passed. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings, through explanation and practice, you wore the arm of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings you suddenly departed to peace, what a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the 3 jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everybody here. Lovely to meet some new people, to see some familiar faces. And I'm here tomorrow night.
Yes.
We have our authentic illumination class.
7 p.m.
Yeah, so feel free, and then you can look at the rest of the schedule and hope to see you again.
On website calendar, there Meetup, Eventbrite, you can see all the events that are scheduled. And if it's your first time here, consider signing up in the newsletter so you can get all these updates, and you can also sign up for the newsletter online on our homepage. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And sorry, there's I just see, or is there anything we need to deal with? Okay.